What's going on YouTube? I'm DarkJack, and in this video I'm playing some Black Ops 2, but you don't want to hear about that. Instead, today what I'm going to talk about is whether or not you should buy the Xbox One or the PS4. Now, I watched both the Microsoft and the Sony conferences, and I've also read a ton of articles about them, and I'm going to put a link to some of them in the description below. And so let's get this thing started. First I'm going to talk about Xbox and then PS4, then contrast them. Now, in the Xbox conference, they revealed the Xbox One. It's going to be for $500. It's going to be out in November, and it's going to be much more expensive overseas. It's going to be $600 in Australia and £429 in the UK, which is the equivalent of $667 in Europe. So it's $160 more overseas, which is pretty outrageous. And then they showed Halo 5, and that's going to be out in 2014. It's going to run at 60 frames per second, and it's going to have dedicated servers. So that's good news for Halo fans. And I might buy an Xbox One when that comes out. And then they announced Killer Instinct, which is an Xbox One exclusive. And that is a pay-to-win game. It's free to download, but you only have access to one character. And then you have to unlock more characters over time using real-world money. And during the presentation, one of the guys who was playing it made a rape joke while he was playing against a female player. And I think that was unintentional, but it came off really wrong. Then they showed off Rise, which is an Xbox One exclusive. This is the Xbox's answer to the God of War franchise. It's a ground-level, third-person fighting game. And I thought that the camera angle was pretty poor. It was hard to see around because it was ground-level, and so I imagine when you play that game, you're going to have to rotate the camera around a lot. It seemed very scripted. There were a ton of QuickTime events, and it looked like the God of War franchise for noobs, to be honest, because the gameplay was very linear in nature and very scripted. It did not look that much fun to play, though the graphics looked amazing because it's made by Crytek. Then we saw Dead Rising 3, which is an Xbox One exclusive, and this game looked interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the Dead Rising series, and this looks like a more realistic take on the zombie apocalypse, unlike the first two Dead Rising games. And then we saw Project Spark, which is another Xbox exclusive, and this looked like the best game to me out of all of them, to be honest. It's a Kinect integrated game that allows you to create your own worlds, and this is Microsoft's answer to the Little Big Planet series from PlayStation. And I really like the possibilities of this franchise because you can create your own worlds and then play in them, similar to Forge mode. And from reading, I found that Kinect Sports Rivals is coming out, and that's going to be a launch title for the Xbox One. And we know, of course, Forza is going to come out, and that's going to be an exclusive game, as well as a launch title. And we saw Sunset Overdrive, which is a Xbox One exclusive. This is Xbox's answer to the Infamous series from PlayStation, and this is a open world zombie killing game that has the art style of a kind of like a Borderlands-esque game with a blue and orange color contrasts, and it looks pretty neat. It's made by the same team that made Ratchet & Clank, and so I think the jury's still out on this one because what we saw was mostly pre-rendered footage. And then we know Black Tusk Games is going to make a new game for the Xbox. And we don't know very much about this game. It looks like a spy game, sort of like Splinter Cell or Mission Impossible. And then we saw Crimson Dragon, which is a Kinect game. And there was no sound during the presentation of this. And this looks like a on-rails Kinect game, or similar to a lot of previous Kinect games that we've seen as well. And then we saw Quantum Break, which is an episodic game that is similar to, I think it's going to be similar to the Telltale's games, and it's going to coincide with a TV show. And so what you do in the game supposedly influences what you watch on your personalized TV episode. And this is going to be an Xbox One exclusive as well, and we don't know very much about this game. And then we saw D4, which is a cel-shaded game. It's a murder mystery episodic game that uses Kinect, and I imagine that you're going to use your hands to punch enemies, and I don't really know much about it, and the jury is still out on this game because we haven't seen much. We've only seen a teaser trailer. Then there's going to be Zoo Tycoon, which might be coming out on PC as well, and we saw World of Tanks, which is going to come to Xbox as well, and this is a free-to-play PC game, and it is very popular on PC because of its free-to-play nature, but it's not something that interests me personally. And we saw Titanfall, which is going to come out on Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC as well, so it is not an Xbox exclusive game. And it's coming in 2014, And it looks like a first-person shooter game. It's made by Respawn Entertainment, which is the same team that made Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2. And you alternate between being a pilot on the ground and playing around in a Titan, which is a mech. And it looks pretty interesting. It's of all the games that they showed, this is the one that intrigued me the most. But it's also out on PC, so you don't have to buy an Xbox One to play it. Then we saw Battlefield 4, which looked pretty awesome, even though there were some technical hiccups when they presented it. And the DLC is coming out first on Xbox Live. And it's going to be on Xbox 360 and Xbox One, as well as PlayStation and PC. And the gameplay that they showed at the conference was from the PC version. You could see in the top left corner they messed up and they showed a PC button prompt. Then we saw Metal Gear Solid 4, Dark Souls 2, and The Witcher 3, which are multi-platform games, and those look pretty amazing in my opinion. And I plan on getting all of them at some point. Then we learned that Twitch TV is going to allow users to upload their gameplay directly from their Xbox One. So I imagine Twitch TV is going to crash when the Xbox One is released, and it's going to really oversaturate the market. It's going to lead to a lot of amateur people uploading to Twitch TV, which is going to lower the content of quality on Twitch TV. So you're going to have thousands of people with 0 views on Twitch TV now. Then we saw that Microsoft is expanding the Xbox Live Gold value. They're going to add 2 free games a month up until the launch of the Xbox One. So Halo 3 and Assassin's Creed 2 are going to be free to play now, which is good news, but these are going to be very old games that they're going to be releasing. I don't expect them to release any brand new games for free. And so with the Xbox One, to summarize, there is a large focus on Kinect and TV, and Microsoft believes that they are competing with Apple and Google for an all-in-one media center rather than competing with Sony for gamers. And I think this is essentially their public admission that they never should have gotten into the gaming industry, because they are trying to reach a broader audience, and by doing that they are alienating many of their fans in the process, by trying to reach TV viewers to be an all-in-one entertainment system. And this system is always online. You have to check in every 24 hours. It is a very anti-consumer piece of technology that is trying to squeeze out as much profit as possible at the expense of consumers. It is always online. They will potentially block used games or add a used game fee. The Kinect is required and there is no backwards compatibility. And so by being always online, by adding a used game fee, by not being backwards compatible, that allows them to make more money, because you have to buy all your old games that you enjoyed new instead of using your old Xbox 360 discs. There's a fee for used games so they can get a cut of the used game market. It's always online, so that way they can cut back on piracy, which is a good thing, but that comes at the expense of consumers and for people that don't have reliable internet connections. And your accessories will not be backwards compatible with the Xbox One. And the mandatory Kinect also eliminates desktop gaming. And the DVR that is built in with the Xbox One only records for gameplay. It does not work for TV. And the Xbox One is not the only device you need. You need a cable box in order to watch cable TV, because the cable box will plug into the Xbox One through a infrared sensor in the back of the Xbox One. And if you live outside of North America, you will not be able to watch live TV at launch. That is coming later. And so to summarize, if you live outside of the United States, I would not buy the Xbox One, because it is a console that is made by Americans for Americans, and many of its features will not be available at launch outside the US, and is much more expensive outside the US. Now let's talk about the PS4. We saw Killzone Shadowfall, Infamous Second Son, The Order 1886, and Knack, and Drive Club, and these are all exclusive games to the PlayStation 4. And I really liked these games. Killzone Shadowfall and Infamous looked very impressive. Graphically, they actually look like next-gen games. And The Order 1886 looks like a steampunk Gears of War. It looked really interesting as well. Kind of looked like Dishonored and Thief. And we're going to have to see, and time will tell, whether or not this is going to be a game that's worth picking up. And we also saw Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3, Elder Scrolls Online, Mad Max, and Destiny. And these games are multi-platform as well. And these games look really neat, and I'm really looking forward to Final Fantasy 15 and the Elder Scrolls Online. And the Destiny reveal was pretty awesome. Destiny looks like a futuristic Borderlands that looks much more realistic, and so I think Gearbox Software has a competitor now in Destiny. And the big announcement is that it costs $3.99 which is $100 less than the Xbox One. And it's also not going to block used games, it's not going to require an internet connection, or a 24-hour check-in or authentication. And this is huge news, and it's not going to require the PlayStation Eye, so desktop gaming is still a reality with the PlayStation 4, unlike with the Xbox One. And they said that they have 140 games in development for the PS4, and 30 of those games are exclusives. And we saw that they are favoring indie developers. Indie developers do not have to come with a publisher. They can self-publish on the PS4, which is pretty awesome. So you're going to see a lot more indie games that are exclusive to the PS4 and on PC as well. And also they showed that the share button, and they're going to support Ustream, so you'll be able to upload your gameplay directly from the PS4 to Ustream. And PlayStation Plus will carry over to the PS4, and Drive Club will become part of the Instant Game collection on PS4. So if you have PS Plus, you get Drive Club free on PS4. But PlayStation Plus will be required for multiplayer, but in my opinion that's not so bad, because PlayStation Plus is a pretty good value. I mean, I just signed up for it, and on PS3 I'm getting Little Big Planet 2, Little Big Planet Karting, Uncharted 3, which I already own, Infamous 2, Vanquish, and Deus Ex. All those games are free with PlayStation Plus, as well as having big discounts on other games. So I think that's a pretty good deal for $50 a year. And so for the PS4, to summarize, there's a big focus on games, and PlayStation 4 exclusives actually look like next generation games. And the PlayStation 4 will solve backwards compatibility through PlayStation Cloud streaming. And when you compare the power of the two systems, with the PS4 you have 8 GB of GDDR5 for PS4 versus 8 GB of DDR3 for Xbox One. So the PS4 is going to be better for graphics because GDDR5 has twice the bandwidth of DDR3, which is on Xbox One. And so the PlayStation 4 eventually is going to have better looking exclusive games because of the power of GDDR5. They both use the same processor, which is an x86 Jaguar, and it runs on AMD graphics, but the GPU on the PS4 is going to be more powerful. And so when you compare both systems side by side, it's a no-brainer. On the PS4 you have better exclusives, you have a more powerful system that is better future-proofed, it is gamer-centric and it is not anti-consumer, and it has the better price, it's $100 less. And as someone on Twitter said that I follow, Xbox One, worse exclusives, worse performance, worse policies, and the weaker console. Oh yeah, it costs more too. And so to summarize, the PS4 is definitely the better value for your money. It is more powerful and it has more games in development that are exclusive. And we haven't seen the Uncharted 4 or the God of War 4 yet. We know those are going to be coming out as well as The Last Guardian at some point. So, Lord Kaz, I must ask you to forgive me. I have sinned. I bought the Xbox 360 first before the PS3 in order to play Halo 3, but the Halo franchise has lost its way by abandoning the gameplay formula of Halo 2 and 3 in favor of Call of Duty in space, because the Master Chief has become a cash cow now rather than the soldier we needed him to be. The King has returned.